Knight f3, d5, e3, c5, c4, d4, b4, knight f6, e takes d4, c takes d4, bishop b2, a5, a3, e5, knight takes e5, a takes b4, a takes b4, rook takes a1, bishop takes a1, bishop takes b4, queen a4, check, knight fd7, bishop takes d4, queen e7, bishop e2, castle kingside, knight d3, knight c6, bishop e3, knight c5, knight takes c5, bishop takes c5, castle kingside, knight d4, knight c3, bishop d7, queen d1, bishop c6, rook e1, queen d6, bishop f1, rook d8, queen h5, b6, bishop g5, rook a8, bishop e7, queen g6, queen takes g6, h takes g6, bishop takes c5, b takes c5, rook e5, knight b3, h4, rook a1, rook e2, knight d4, rook e3, knight b3, rook d3, knight d4, f3, bishop d7, king f2, bishop e6, rook e3, rook c1, rook e1, rook c2, rook d1, knight b3, knight e4, king f8, bishop d3, rook b2, king e3, king e7, knight c3, king d6, knight b5, check, king e7, knight c7, king d6, knight takes e6, king takes e6, bishop e4, f5, bishop d5, check, king f6, f4, knight d4, king f2, king e7, king e3, king f6, rook c1, knight c2, check, King D3, Knight D4, Rook C3, Rook A2, King E3, Knight C2, check, King F2, Knight D4, Rook D3, King E7, King G3, King F6, Rook E3, Rook takes D2, King H3, Rook F2, G3, Rook E2, Rook A3, Rook F2, Rook A6, check, King E7, Rook A7, check, King F8, Rook F7, check, King E8, Rook takes G7, Knight E2, H5, G takes H5, Rook H7, Knight D4, Rook takes H5, King E7, Rook H7, check, King F6, Rook H6, check, King G7, Rook E6, Rook A2, King H4, Rook A3, Rook E7, check, King F6, King H5, Knight E6, Rook E6,